Hello everyone, my name is Eric and welcome to my channel. If today is your first time on this channel, I highly recommend you subscribe to this channel. Just go YouTube and search for My Tech University. Subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so that anytime we go live or drop any new video, you'll be notified so that you can have a feel of what we've dropped in the channel. Now, today we want to talk about user account management. User account management is very important. So far as a system administrator job is concerned, or system engineering job is concerned. Now, you cannot become a system administrator or engineer without knowing the details of what user account management is. So simply put, user account management refers to the process of creating, maintaining, and controlling user access to a computer system or network. So what does that mean? It means that if you are a system administrator or engineer, it is your responsibility or part of your responsibilities to create new users to the system and define their access rights and rules. So which involves, updating the user account, creating password, giving access, expiring the account, deleting anything that has to do with user account. It is your responsibility. So today we want to jump straight and look at certain important commands that are necessary so far as you are managing the account of users in your system. So there are two common commands that we use. We have the user add and add users. So you can either use the user add or add users. What then is the difference? Let me talk briefly about this, then we jump straight into action. Now, with the use of the user add, what it means is that it's very simple to use. It handles most of the tasks, making it more user-friendly for administrators to use. In other words, if you don't want to manually do all the steps, it is advisable, or it's recommended to use the user add versus the add user. Well, the add user is simply the opposite, and it is more required of experienced administrators who prefer to manually put in the stuff, run the commands, configure it, and all those, in terms of adding detailed information when creating the user account. So if you look at the difference between the user add and add user, it depends on what you want to use and what you want to achieve. Again, the user add, it is more of doing it yourself. User add, doing it yourself, putting the information versus the add user. The add user, it is very simple. It handles the task by itself. So let's go straight and begin to add a new user. Just imagine that you are a system administrator and you are supposed to add a new user into your database or your system. How would you go about with it? So what do I want us to use so far as this is concerned is to be more interactive. Therefore, we'll go ahead and use the user add. Now, in creating accounts, you must have, the administrative privilege to use that. So for the sake of this exercise and going back and forth, putting my user ID and, password for the root user, I will prefer rather to use the roots in order to make it much easier. But in the enterprise, you don't have to use the roots because the root will be disabled. So now I want to use the roots to create the account. So first of all, you have to make sure that the new user that you are creating doesn't exist. In other words, it must be, a new user in the system. So let's go ahead and create it. It's very simple. Now, the command again, I said, is user add. So we prefer using the user add. So let me get in, put in user add. So user add, then the name of the user you are creating. So again, it is the command, then the name of the user you are creating. And make sure that the name of the user you are creating does not exist in the system. Why? Because that is going to be the username that the user will be used in logging into the system or accessing the system. So just imagine. Okay. So again, the command is user add, then the name of the user. So hopefully I haven't used this before. So let's try this. User add events. Now, user add events. That is the name of the user we are creating in the system. Now, it shows that this has been created because it did not come up with any error, no error at all. So we are good to go. Now, I want you to pay attention to this part. Anytime you create a new user in the system automatically locks the account. Let me repeat it again. Anytime a new account is created in the system automatically locks it. So therefore, in order to unlock the account created, you have to create a password for the accounts. So let's go ahead and create a password. What then is the password? So the password, we can use passwd, then the name of the user. And this is very, very important. You know, very important in the sense that it goes with case sensitive. So just imagine you were creating and you use uppercase E for the events. But when you were going about, creating the password, you use lowercase e, it's going to be rejected, So it's very, very important. So you have to make sure that whatever spelling that you use, you follow as such. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I go ahead and click enter. Now it's asking me of new password. In other words, what password are we going to use for this user account that we've created? So let me go ahead and create one. Okay. Now it's asking me, it says password contains less than one numeric character. Retype new password. It's kind of giving me warning, but let's go ahead and use it. In other words, for security reasons, you have to make sure you create a very strong password, to avoid those false attack. So you can see right there that the password has been created for the user events. So let's go and verify it. How do we verify if the account has been created? Now, the information about the new user that we have created, in this case, is stored in the HC password. That's password D. So let's go and check. Now I have it over there. Let me go and check into that. This is where we store the information. So I go in there, WPASSWD. Then what do? I pipe it, then I grep it. So I grep it in a way of helping me isolate the information exclusively to events. So again, it is stored in the HC pass WD. That is where the account information of all users created are stored. That is where we store it. So to verify that account has been created, I can cut into the AC pass WD, pipe it, grab it, and use the name Evans, because Evans is the user that we created. That is a way of finding out. Now, another way of verifying that the account has been created, I can just put in ID, then put in events. So if I put in ID and events, yes, it tells me that events has been created in the system. So if you look at it, let me highlight this here. It tells you that events has been created. Now it tells us, the user ID. The user ID created, the user ID that you see over there is a default ID that is generated when we use the user ad. It's a default ID that gets created. By default, it also gives the user account a group ID. Then it follows in that order. So which means that when I use the user add command, it automatically creates the default user ID. It creates the group ID for the member. Now, let's go back to the first verification that I use. The one that I use, the cat, the HC, pass WD, grep events. Look at how that came up. It tells us the name. Now, this is a password. So you see over there, so we have the Evans, the name of the user created. Now we have the semicolon. Now the X over there is the password, which you don't see. Now the column, semicolon also comes in there. It tells us the user ID. It tells us the group ID. Then it tells us the home directory of the user events. Then it tells us the shell. So if you look at this, it breaks it down and it gives us the detailed information about the user events, all stored in there. So what are we looking at? We are looking at that when I use the user add command, it creates information about the user, and the default information that gets created with the use of the user add is one. Automatically, it creates the user ID, it creates the group ID, it also creates the home directory for the user, then it comes with a default shell. That is what you are seeing over there. Now, let's try another user and see in the system. Okay, so now we've created this. Now let me try another user. I want to go with user add. Then probably I'll go with Kofi. User add Kofi. So if I put in user add Kofi, don't forget we said the first time you create an account using the user add, automatically it locks it. So what do you have to do? To unlock it, you go ahead and create a password for the user. So let's go ahead and do that. So always, I said, it is passwd, then the name of the user you created. Passwd and the name of the user. So now let's go ahead. So once I click enter or type enter on the keyboard, now I'm being asked to go ahead and create a password. So again, let's go ahead and create the password. And the password must be very strong, for security reasons. So again, I'm retyping it again. And let's see. Great. It says all authentication tokens updated successfully. In other words, we've created password for the user Kofi. How do we verify this? We can do this by one, just put in ID, then the name of the user you created, Kofi. It shows right there. So you can tell that once I put in this verification ID, then the user name Kofi, it tells me that indeed the account has been created for the user. How again can we check? One, we've looked at how to verify if the account has been created. We said you can use the ID Kofi. Also, you can cut into the passwd, the HC passwd, then pipe and grep using the user's name. So let's do that. So cut HC passwd, and we said that is where the account information of the user we've created is found. So what do? You pipe it, then you grep it with the name of the user is right there. Isn't that beautiful? As you can see it over there. So it tells you that it's right there. Okay. Now, what about the password that we spoke about? Now, the password is going to be encrypted and stored in the shadow file, the AC shadow file. Okay. So let's go and look at it. So let's cut into that. And the reason why we are cutting into that is that it's the file. So once it's a file, the file configuration itself is found in the HC shadow. But because it's a file, we need to cut into it so that we can find out the specific user information that we are looking for. So let's cut into it, HC. Now we go into shadow. Now if I go into shadow, I pipe it, I grab it. Now I use the name Kofi. Now it tells you over there. So you see that the Kofi user that I created is right there. Now this is the password. You see it's encrypted. You see it's encrypted. It's encrypted. You see that over there, which means that it is very, 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 sensitive as well as security wise. It's so difficult to, unless you want to copy. But if I don't get into it, you wouldn't even see it, So that is how that works. So now I want to look at other ways of finding out if the account has been created. When we use the ID, the name of the user created. Also, we can cut into the HC, the password D, we grab it, then we now use the name of the user created, or we can also go the other way around. I just use the HC shadow to tell you or talk about the password which you can see when you create it. What other ways can we also check this? Okay, we can also use this because it's a directory. We can also check it by the home. And because it's a directory, we go here, home, then we go to coffee. You see it right there. You see, it tells you that the account has also been created. Why? Because we said from the beginning that with the use of the user ad, the default information that gets created when you use that is one. It provides the user ID of the account. It also provides the group ID. It also creates the home directory by default for the user you've created, as well as the default shell, So which implies that we can as well modify all those information that has been created, and we will do that in our next lesson. So this is going to be an extensive tutorial of user account management, and it will give us more information how to modify it, how to expire the account, how to log the account, how to unlock the account. So many of them, a lot that we would cover so far as this tutorial is concerned. And this is very, very, very important in the career of a system administrator or system engineering. You'll be required to do all these things. So I hope this video really helps. Today, we just created a user account, a new user account. We've looked at how to verify that account has been created. Then we also look at the default account information that are being created as a result of using the user add command. And we also look at the differences between the user add and add user. And we said with the add user, is kind of make things very easier. It's very simple to use it. It automatically runs the task by itself. However, with the use of the user add, that you have to kind of manually do it, and it's based on experience. So I want to end here for today. I'll meet you again in the next video. And again, my name is Eric Oben. Kindly go to my tech university. Go on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and also click on the notification bell anytime we drop new video. You'll be the first person to get hold of it, and I believe this will greatly help you. Until we meet again, bye-bye for now, and bye-bye.